Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Abez Show with me, your host, Abe. Today, I have a very special guest, German. Hi, German, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. So, German, tell my audience all about you and what do you do?
Thank you, Abe, for having me on your show, and thanks everybody for listening. My name is German Gussakovskiy, and I'm a serial entrepreneur in the tech and fitness industry. I have started my fitness journey 10 years ago when me and my partner we launched a multimedia agency. Since then, I've been trying to build up that agency to have a capacity to create our own startups. Since we don't have large operations, I have joined Dubai government as a senior analyst, and I have been promoted to member of macroeconomic modeling policy, and where I was working and cooperating on economic policy advocacy, investment relations, attraction, intermediation, major strategic economic projects with big four companies, the FC Authority, UAE top governmental departments, etc. While I was in the government, it was I mean, you could say like a stable position that would provide me means for living. And at the same time, I would spend the rest of my day working on my business. Since then, our company has expanded throughout the region to four offices in Dubai, Russia, Egypt, Bahrain. And we have signed official partnerships with Dubai Chamber, with Dubai Police. We have more than 50 clients in the past 10 years and completed more than 300 projects. So then I decided once we had a capacity, we had a team of around 50 people. I decided to start my other ventures. So I started a fitness venture called Next Fit in Bahrain and Kuwait, which is an EMS training in partnership with Fitness First. Then and then I have also started a company called Top Stretching in Dubai, which is the largest chain of stretching and functional training studios in the world. So my core focus right now is Top Stretching, is expanding it here locally in the MENA region. We have two locations in Dubai Marina and Palm Jumeirah. We have also launched. There was an interesting case about the Top Stretching during the beginning of 2020 when the COVID kicked in. You know, everybody was shocked, especially the retail businesses. So then I thought to myself, things are going bad, so we need to pivot. We need to do something, not just sit idle. And we created the first on-demand stretching app in the world. So it's something cool and exciting is what we are growing now. We have grown the app in a year to 8,000 users, which is pretty great. Some few more things about me. I mean, I have 10 years of practical business experience here in MENA, 4 years of combining professional career and business practice, which is very interesting to keep stability and at the same time try to aspire to your goals. I have built and expanded multi-million fitness and marketing businesses in MENA region and generated north of $30 million in the past 10 years.
Wow, amazing. So, I have a couple of questions. Obviously, I've known you for a year now, and I know we always have these conversations, me and you, but I never asked you what made you, leave your very cushy job. It was a good paying job into this unknown because, as an entrepreneur, you don't know when your next paycheck is coming, or you don't know when, like, I know you were trying to build things on the side and stuff like that, but what was the point that you felt that, okay, this is the time for me to leave? Like, do you remember that time or?
Yes, I remember it like now. It was like 4.5 years ago. I was sitting in the office and I mean, I realized, that you can put price on freedom. It's something invaluable. And as they said in the movie, I'm sure everybody watched it, Shawshank Redemption. They say some birds aren't meant to be caged. I believe to be employed in the company is somehow to be caged. If it's a traditional company, like 10 to 6, that's caging. I mean, modern startups, they work in a different way. They understand, that people can work from beach, from different places around the world, be free, etc. But when I was working in the government, it was, I mean, it was an official position. Don't get me wrong, it was an amazing job. I mean, I had a good salary, I had amazing benefits. I worked like 7 hours a day, 8 hours a day. So, and I would finish by like 2 p.m. and then I would be free. However, I I decided, and when I left, I took a credit of like 100,000 dirham. I didn't have any saving, and so it's not that I left with a saving. Actually, I took a huge risk. That was my first all-in that I did in my life, and yeah, I mean, it's a freedom and also aspiration to make difference, and also aspiration, to grow bigger. There are some things that I want to do in this life, all right, and I think, I mean, I wouldn't be able to do them just working somewhere. So entrepreneurship was the only option. At least I have a chance. I may never get there, but just knowing that I have that chance already gives me that drive, inside me.
It's funny you mention that because I meet a lot of people with savings, but because I think salary is like a pill, every month you take and you're like, you know what? Okay, maybe next salary, they will be courageous enough to leave. And again, listen, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. I got to be honest. Like, I don't want people to just get up and say, you know what? I'm going to start something. No, no, it has to be planned. But I think that initial jump is everybody remembers their first initial jump. It's the risk of you, even if you have tiny savings or a lot of savings, it's still the dependency and because you are used to, every 25, 26th of the month, or even end of the month, getting a salary, right? And it's honestly a good feeling when, it's a satisfying SMS you get. You're like, oh yeah, my salary is here, right? But
Yeah, it is.
but that always has issues with people. I think it's just like it drugs them to the next month and so on and so on. And taking that leap is so strong. And some people fail and some people succeed. Amazing how you took a line, blindfolded, saying, you know what?
I agree with you 100%. I respect entrepreneurs so much because they're taking such a huge leap of faith. It requires, and you're right, this is not for everybody. And it doesn't mean that entrepreneurs are better than the other people. No, it's just, they're taking it one step further, to test the limits. And they're risking so much, in order to do that. And to do it, it has to be well prepared. It has to be well thought of, and you have to be psychologically ready for it. You have to be experience wise ready for it. I mean, yes, I took a leap of faith, but not, I didn't have financial stability, not at all. However, what I did have by the point I decided to do this is an experience. Like I told you, I started the company in the university and I worked in the government for around 4 years.
Yeah.
By that time, I didn't generate enough income. I mean, we were barely profitable. However, what I did have is the experience that I got during this year. And I felt confident, that I would be able to succeed. And I thought to myself, all right, if it doesn't work out, I mean, I get so much experience. I'm sure I will be valuable to some company thereafter.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you said something very key, which is mentally ready. I think people need to be mentally ready, not only for not the money, but because this is something that is undefined. And your job when you work for somebody, you have a job description. Entrepreneur, one day you're hiring people, the next day you're putting up drywall and like literally fixing stuff in your office. The third time you're trying to raise money, you have to like you have to wear so many hats, and I think that mentally you have to be mentally strong to do that. And you know what I mean. And then finding a partner if you need one. Where are you going to pay your salaries? I remember my first startup, the first 3 years, end of the month was the biggest worry for me and my partners. And we're like, okay, where are we going to pay our creditors? Where are we going to pay our salaries? You know what I mean? And then we always made it work. And then obviously you always get paid last That's the sad truth, right? So,
Yeah, very sad.
you know,
Super sad.
but and then hopefully it worked out well for at least me and a lot of the successful ones. But also it's also an experience. People do not like put a price on the experience that you're gaining, because when you're doing all of these hiring and fixing and running after investors and getting business development, you're now out of that cage that you talked about. You know what I mean? You're doing what you want. You believe this is the right path, right? Okay, so let me ask you. Let's talk more about your latest venture, which is top stretching. How, like, I know you walked into that gradually by, from your fitness business into that stuff. What did you think that top stretching, why would it do well here? Like what made you say,
Mhm,
I think this is the right formula, the right time for top stretching in this region?
mhm. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not gonna be bragging about it. I just follow my feeling. I did 16 personality tests, and I'm emotional like 80%. Majority of my decisions are driven by emotions, and in a good sense. I felt good about the company. I felt good about the partners that I've partnered with, and I decided to do it to give it a try. So, and it was interesting meeting. It was a kind of fate because I liked the company, and then I asked one of my friends if they know the owners, and I was in Bali back then. And a friend told me, that the owners are also in Bali. So we met up. It happened so quick, and we have similar background, we have similar experience, similar life path. They're same age. I mean, a lot of things are similar. So we decided to partner up. This what I did.
So I guess everything was aligned the second you met them, right? So,
I
and
guess, yeah.
and that's something, and that's something that we need to talk about is finding partners, because I know you've had a couple of ventures with different partners and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like, can you elaborate more? What do you look for? Like, obviously you've had some good traction with a lot of companies. I'm sure you've had one or two saying, we shouldn't have done that. uh, you know what I mean? Like, what do you think is a good fit for a partner? Like, what learnings did you get from finding a good partner?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of partnership. To be honest, I could never do a business alone because I guess we are all different people. We all have our advantages and disadvantages. You should find a partner, that substitute your disadvantages. All right. So, for example, me, I cannot be involved in operational activity. That just kills me. That just drives my enthusiasm down, creativity down, everything. So I need a partner who would be able to take care of the operational part, which is also very important. So, I mean, this is the way I looked into it. If we're looking for some soft values, honesty and transparency are the key, of course. Those things you can't look for in the beginning. I guess you should talk about it and then see on the actions. Transparency is the most important because when you're transparent, but like what to expect. It's same like a relation between man and a woman. Like it needs to be transparent, it needs to be honest, otherwise it will fall apart. But transparency has to go together with the rationality. So not only that you have to be transparent, you have to accept. So sometimes a partner can tell they did something that you may not like, but the fact that they're transparent about it, you should appreciate, and you should sit down, I guess, and talk rationally. Those values are important. Also, drive and enthusiasm. For example, if you're a person, if I was a person, that would be very operational oriented, calm, introvert, etc. Definitely, I'm not type of a guy. I wouldn't be a type of a guy for the creativity, for some drive, that to create an environment. Then I would search for a partner, who has that, because that's very important as well. Like to have that drive, to have that feeling inside you, that will motivate others. So this is what I would say. But some of the entrepreneurs, they have been really successful individually, and I'm really happy for them. But this is just my vision and the way it works for me. So I guess it's individual.
No, you know what? And we are very aligned, because even like, when I joined Startup Bootcamp, I never knew that even investors looked at, if sole founders were not something people really were interested in investing in because of,
True.
the whole
Risk. It's a risk of dying. Yeah.
and I agree with you 100%. You always need to look for your blind spots. Like I personally, I'm a very strong operational person, but I hate anything that comes with accounting, finance, legal. Now I understand after being 20 years into the entrepreneurship, I do know that, but I prefer not to touch that. Give me operational stuff, I'll do that all day. Marketing, I love. Even product development, I love that stuff. But the blind spot is something bang on. You need to make sure that you think alike, but you need to cover each other's blind spots, and that's where good partnerships happen. And partnerships doesn't mean like
Agree.
I need to find another brother or another friend. I was never successful working with friends, you know. So okay, so what sparked that whole offline to online aspect? I know, you said that you have now 8,000 members on your app. Why do people choose Top Stretching and not the million apps that are on there? Like, tell us more. What makes it so different about this app?
Well, to answer your first question, to be honest, I have been an online guy since the beginning. Prior to us, me and my partner starting our marketing firm, we have been trying to launch various startups back in 2010. We launched the first real estate crowdfunding platform. We have launched the first room sharing platform because, like room sharing was pretty, like well developed in Dubai, not officially, but it was the case,
Yeah.
Then several other ventures. But I mean, we always faced with the cost of, contacting marketing firms for websites, for apps, for marketing, for designs, etc., etc. So then I was so tired of it, of paying that off and trying to find the good ones. And then I said, listen, let's build up our own infrastructure. And once we are ready, we're going to be launching that. I mean, this is just to give you an idea. I have had an online vision all the time. Even our marketing firm, it's fully digital, right? So we don't do offline marketing, it's only online marketing. We're specializing in the performance digital marketing and the programmatic media buying. Coming back to the Top Stretching, I mean, my life took me to the offline business because, I mean, there were opportunities, and I decided to take them. That's the answer why I went into the offline business. But I always had a vision for the online. So the time was right during COVID. We were shut down. There was nothing to do, and I said, let's transform the entire business to online as well. That will add an additional revenue stream. I mean, it's still small business compared to our offline. However, it is growing and it has huge potential. And to grow it is much easier than to grow the online business. So I guess this is why we went to offline. What makes it better? Well, there are no stretching apps at all. So we're the first one to launch. We recorded 150 trainings, each one average 30 to 1 hour long. Those trainings have been recorded by the some of like Russian champions in rhythmic gymnastics. So those are really top trainers with all life in the field. Another thing that makes it special is UI. I think it looks super awesome, right? It's super trendy what we do. It is mostly for a female audience, and people love it. I mean, given that there is no competitor and we are first market entrant, it's hard to compare. But if we compare it to the traditional functional workout apps, I guess we are offering ladies an alternative that they can have a fit, an aesthetically beautiful body without actually putting high pressure on their body, doing HIIT, doing insanity workouts. And those are really, I mean, I'm not a fan of those. And even medically, they are not good because they put a lot of pressure on your cardiovascular and system and the heart. The another cool thing about our app is that we record the trainings in the most exclusive locations around the world. I mean, we have partnership with Atlantis, so we have a series of trainings in the aquarium. I mean, imagine the ambience of all those fishes, in the background, or we record the videos in the hidden spot in Fujairah or a hidden spot in Lebanon. And we are planning to find more and more spots around the world. right now people not only want the training, but they want an experience and ambience. So we give them that.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think you nailed it on its head with saying, the user experience is fantastic, and the quality of the content. As you said, that you had Olympic people, doing the workouts. That shows a lot of credibility, and I think that's why your growth has been so good because of
Uh,
that. Amazing, amazing. That's super super cool. So let me ask you. So for the online business, so we have something called the BHAG. Like, what is the BHAG of the top stretching app? Like how many fitness studios do you see opening up? How many users on the app? Like, give us, like, in 10 to 20 years, like, give us, just make us dream about this.
Well, if we analyze our offline business in the MENA region alone, our market opportunity is 250. The realistic opportunity is 250,000 members across the MENA. I mean, that's given that if we open like 120 locations across different countries. The overall potential available market for us is 150 million over here. So I guess we can confidently say that we can get to 50,000 members if we manage to grow at the right pace and doing everything right. If we look at into our online business, our the potential available market is the same as 150 million female audience in the age group of 20 to 55, and the realistic, serviceable, attainable market for us, basically the group of people that we can make our members in our online business subscribers is 10 million.
Nice, nice. So, okay, so I promised I'd ask you this question that I'm asking all of my guests. So, if you had a superpower, what would that be? Or if you want to mimic a superhero, who would that be?
Okay, I realized that the superpower I would like to have is to be happy. I guess the main thing in this world is that we don't feel calm. We're driven by our ego. We want more money, more this, more that, more material things. But I realize more and more, and I've been traveling around the world a lot, meeting different people with different background. I realized that I want to feel peace inside myself. I want to feel calm, and I would like to be happy, really happy, and I would like to spread that happiness, a true one, not a played one. So I guess I'm still in that journey, of reaching a happiness. For example, I'm planning a trip to Shaolin Monastery, hopefully this year, to spend some good 1-2 months over there, to live with them, to be like them. I love their philosophy. So I guess this is the superpower I would like to have, to be able, at one moment it's like to push the button. I'm like, okay, I'm happy, I'm fine with everything.
Honestly, that's
Don't you have that feeling, Abe?
sometimes
Sometimes like you're like, like you have everything, but it's just there is something missing, always something missing. You always want more, and then you realize, do you really want that? And even if you get that, that doesn't solve the problem, and it's like continuous. It's like whole society embeds this into us, from high school, from kindergarten, from universities. Like, you got to be successful, more this, more that. Capitalism, but then there is a spiritual aspect, to your human body as well, and your soul.
I agree 100%. And you know what? Happiness is the first time I hear this on the show, for people saying that's, and honestly, it is a superpower. You perform so much better when you're happy. You actually start thinking.
Of course, yeah.
So fantastic and very wise words, I have to say. But would you like to say anything to our audience before we close up the show?
The most important thing that I would say is that if you have an idea, if you believe in something, you would like to have in your life, think 20 years in advance. Don't think 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. No, think, where do you see yourself in 20 years, 30 years? All right. And ask yourself a question: is what you're doing right now will help you to get there, regardless of what it is? Like, to be happy, to have like certain material position, to have certain businesses, to have certain position at your corporation, to live in a certain country. That question always helps me, like to get clear in my mind the picture of what I'm doing, and to answer the question, is what I'm doing right for me? So I guess that's what I would say.
Very wise words from the happy man, German. I like that. And in closing, I just want to tell
Thanks.
everybody about our hashtag. Our hashtag is real talk, no nonsense. Thank you very much, German. Until next time, everybody enjoy. Take care.
Sound good. Cool show, Abe. Thank you very much for inviting me.